Hello, I'm EnterElysium, and we're back in Kerbal Origins. We're taking our massively, ridiculously sized spacecraft and going to try and land it on Juno. Now, I've gone back a few seconds because we had a crash when we were actually trying to land last time. That's why I ended the episode just before the crash. So we're a tiny bit backwards in time. So we're just going to bring the spacecraft in. And what I'm fully aware of at the moment is we're going to have to do a power-assisted landing. So we're going to have to use our engines to try and land. But also we have parachutes, so I'm going to try and use the parachutes to aid us in the landing. We don't really need to. We can do a powered landing with this, but I might as well use parachutes. We have them. But the thing about that is if you use parachutes and the power-assisted landing, and then you go too heavy on the engine, you can end up swinging around because the parachutes are trying to hold you upright and you're powering in one direction and the body will twist and spin, and if you're not careful, you'll end up just spinning around and then hitting the ground. So I'm going to have to be, kind of gentle on the throttle. And Juno's probably the heaviest planet. Well, we are the heaviest on Juno of the planets we're going to visit. So it's got the most mass and the highest gravity of all the planets we're visiting in this one, because we're planning to visit Juno, Dres, and Elu. And we've already hit Ike, which is Juno's moon, quite successfully. Admittedly, at a bit of a weird angle, but, it was successful. So we're coming in now. I've of course folded all the heat panels in, and we're building up waste heat quite quickly. I do check it in the resource occasionally, but I think we'll be fine. You do get rid of a lot of waste heat through convection in the atmosphere, but because Juno's atmosphere is relatively thin, and we are putting out a lot of heat with the free nuclear reactors, that we're not being able to get rid of it quick enough. But we can take quite a bit of it before we overheat and die, so we're probably going to be fine. We're probably going to be able to hit the ground and not, burn to death. Now here I'm just having some fun trying to get to the science instruments I've kind of accidentally covered with this ladder. I decided, might as well use them for Juno since it's one of the more sedate landings we've got, because we've got an atmosphere to help slow us down, parachutes to help slow us down. So I'm just, burning a little bit now just to try and get our horizontal speed down before we pop the parachutes, because Juno's atmosphere, there we go, parachutes are out. I'm not exactly sure when parachutes open and close, because it's a little bit different with the different atmosphere as opposed to Kerbin. And I haven't tested parachutes of this craft anywhere but Kerbin. So I know that they can do a Kerbin landing. Oop, there we go. There are the drogue chutes. Gears out. Well, landing legs. And we are now below 100 meters per second. Try and get to about 50. Yep, 40, 30. And the rest of the parachutes go fine. Nothing ripped and broke. That is good. And here we come for a landing. Now this is all at, I think, 8 times speed, which is about 4 times speed, because the game was actually going about half speed, because it's such a big craft. So pretty much everything in this episode will be 2 times speed or faster, because 2 times speed cancels out the half time speed the game was running at, so you'll basically be seeing it real time. So if you see any derpy maneuvers, it's probably because I was watching it and playing it in half time, and it was really annoying. Now here I've got the surface autopilot thing set to just point us straight up, which helps us not swing when we're using the engine. It's incredibly useful actually at this point. And gently, gently. Ooh! That was quite a nice landing. I couldn't have tried that with any of the last iteration of the fusion craft. It would have just toppled over, but this one took it quite easily. Let's put these panels out, get rid of the excess heat we've built up. Oh, that one's just gone back in. Odd. Anyway. Get rid of all this excess heat. So, bum 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 bum. Ta-da! And let's go out and do our flag planting. Oh, the ladders are already out. I've just put them back in. Let's try and get them out again. Ladders out. There we go. And EVA Jeb. Okay, yep, just, don't use a ladder, that's fine. It's only light gravity. Try and find a gap to come out. There we go. Hello, Jeb. Face plant. I think that's Jeb's way of greeting every new planet. It's just a face plant into the dust. 240 for that. That's not bad. Let's plant a flag. Do-do. And this is 11B. Now, the naming convention I'm using for my flags is the episode that the mission starts in, and then the letter denotes, which flag it is. So the first flag is A, the second flag is B. Because I have recorded chunks of it at a time, and sometimes I get too much to go in an episode or whatever. So that the flag would be like 11 in episode 12 or something, and people would be like, why is that? So I've just decided that the naming convention will consistently be the episode the mission starts in. That way I don't get confused. Right, let's get back on this ladder. And there we go. Now these ladder transitions are a bit tricky, especially, you know, because things are weird. Sometimes changing from one ladder to the other can be a bit tricky, and I'm having a little bit of problems here, you see. I did test this actually on Kerbal when I had it like locked in the docking clamps. I got a Kerbal out and took him out and put him back up, and that worked fine. So I'm just wondering whether it's because of the just something weird like the physics, because the craft is currently running at half-time speed because it's all trying to calculate which way it should tip, etc. Whoops. Oh, and he ragdolled. Okay, let's... Oh! See, I didn't actually know you could EVA fly on Juno. I thought you'd be too heavy, but you can just about EVA fly. Just. So that's incredibly helpful. Stops me having to try and figure out a way up. Bored. Okay, let's just... last bits of science. 200, that's pretty damn good. What else is there? Yeah, goo. And trying to get these. Right, ooh, gram negative thingy. 420? Tasty. Oh, no, it was 480 or something, wasn't it? 420 is the one we deleted. Seismic data, 400. Temperature, 64. It's all really good. Right, and I'm looking at that. I'm just looking at the uranium because we are going to be pushing it for the uranium usage. I considered a number of things like shunting uranium into one reactor temporarily, and some other things, but we'll come on to that in a bit. Like, there's some problems with that because the mod is very particular. Anyway, let's take off, pull them in, and just head upwards. I mean, this thing has about a thrust ratio of about 1, or just below, just over, I can't remember which. And that's with the hydrogen tanks full. And they're not full at the moment, well, liquid fuel. They're not full at the moment, so we can take off pretty easily, especially considering the low gravity of Juno. It's why we're not going to Eve, basically, is because the thrust to weight ratio wasn't going to be able to take us off on Eve. Which is a shame, because I really want to go to Eve, and a lot of people said Eve, and I like going to Eve because it's pretty, it's got crazy pink lakes and stuff. Looks like some sort of weird candy land, except, you know, it wants to kill you because it's probably really acidic. It's basically Venus, hot and acidic. But, yeah, we'll just go to 3 other planets. We don't need no Eve. Pushing this at the moment to the max if I can, but there we go. We have plenty of fuel, and our deuterium and tritium is just amazing. Like, we brought that lithium to convert, and I think the reactors have already converted as much of it as they can. Now, looking at that there, we've got maybe a quarter of our uranium used, which means about 100 days is about a quarter of our supply, or just less than that. So we just used just over a quarter, I think, so it's kind of interesting. Let's use the magnetometer. 350, sweet. Oh, hello, Ike. It's quite a nice launch. Pointing forwards, just get that. Yeah, there we go. Now just bring our periaps up. Now we're getting to our apoaps. See, time to up is about 9 seconds, and just powering up. There we go. Now let's add our updated version available. Oh, it's probably for 0.23. This is still 0.22. I'm not going to change over until we finish the series, because I was going to say this would be like the last episode. I said last episode that was going to be the second to last penultimate episode. But we end up having some fun in this episode, so this is going to be like the second to last episode, probably. At the very most, it'll be third to last. I don't think we'll go any further than that. So I'm just choosing which we'll go to next. Dres or Elu. And Dres is 200 days away, Elu's 100 days away, so I'm thinking Elu at this stage. Just because we need to pick the closest in time to our window, because we're having some fun. But we need more uranium, that is the problem. So, this is our new craft. Now I'm launching at ridiculous speeds just because, you know, you've seen launches before, blah blah blah. It's partly designed just to look pretty, by the way. But also, this is very important, has a very important job. Those two things on the side that are round and weird are refineries. They can basically turn the unprocessed, dead... Not the unprocessed, the... what's it called? The actinized, that's it. The actinized in the reactor. Back into useful uranium. Basically, it reprocesses the depleted uranium for any U-235 that's left in it, takes that out, and we can use that again. And it's also carrying a lot of uranium in its hexagon canisters on the side. It's pretty heavy because of it, and we've had to put a ridiculously large lifting body on it, but, you know, there we go. Anyway, so those drop off, and there we go. We've got some, see, nuclear engines on the side. Those should be able to push us off into interplanetary space, and we'll probably head for whichever's closer. Probably Dres, it looks like. Elu, the margin for getting to Elu is just ages away, so we're going to head to Dres. And we'll probably rendezvous with our craft there. I seem to delete the maneuver node weirdly there. I don't know why, but sometimes the maneuver node gets stuck, and it only wants to be deleted. So I'm just sorting out this with two maneuver nodes. The best way to do it is always to do your transfer node out of system, and then at your descending or ascending node of your semi-major axis, you want to do your inclination change. That's the easiest way to do it. So here we go, just doing our burn here, and that mainsail should eject. Yeah, it doesn't eject, and at this point I'm really confused. I'm like, well, why is this adapter not just... Why is the liquid fuel... Okay, there's liquid fuel. Fine, great, that's nice, but it should have ejected. And I can't tell why it's... Like, the decoupler has gone. I think it's something to do, maybe the struts don't... The struts haven't disconnected like they should, because when you decouple, you break the struts between the two stages, but these struts don't seem to have... Like, the decoupler, you can't right-click or anything, so it is definitely detached. And this is ruining our Delta V. Now we're basically burning fuel carrying extra weight that we didn't want it to carry, and I didn't factor in this. Like, the fuel budget for this mission was tight anyway. This is impossible. Like, you can see our Delta V going down very, very quickly on the side because it's not factored in this weight in the calculation. We're basically dragging several tons of spare weight. So I'm just transferring fuel into the mainsail just to make sure we get our interplanetary burn in the window available. Let's rush build, and here we go. This is the solution. It's a little bit wobbly, and basically, if something like that goes wrong, normally your best bet is to just scrap it and relaunch. And I decided, why don't we do, you know, something different? Or why don't we try refueling it? And now normally people be like, well, you need to set up an orbit to refuel it, and then you need to intersect the orbit. There is a different way to do it, and it's called brute force. If you have a lot of Delta V, you can basically brute force it. Now, this is the original design. I just wanted to include this part where it goes dreadfully wrong, because it goes wrong in quite an amusing fashion. So you see, you know, that's broken off, that orange tank on the side, and everything explodes! But it breaks apart into so many tiny pieces. I don't think I've had a crash quite like this, where there's just debris everywhere. So right now we're just like, every Kerbal nearby, run for your lives. Whee! Such a pretty... Yeah, and there were quite a lot of failures like this, because this thing we're trying to raise to orbit is very heavy. Anyway, skipping ahead to when I actually do get it to orbit. We're dropping off the mainsail that helped us, you know, have a decent thrust-to-weight ratio to get out of the atmosphere, and we're just going on nuclear engines now. And what we're doing is, we're not even setting up a proper orbit, we're just burning straight from our gravity burn, and we're just going to burn straight out after the craft. And what we're doing is we're basically going to try and set ourselves up on a similar exit trajectory, and then we're just going to point at the craft and decrease our velocity so that we're going faster than it, and ideally we're going to overtake it. Now, this doesn't work particularly well when you're talking about circles, but because we can basically model it as a straight line when we're particularly close, it works. It's very rough, and it takes a lot of Delta V. So we're probably going to spend about 2 kilometers Delta V. And you watch here, I'm just trying to get our target speed down, because it's actually going faster than us at the moment. So we need to just push our target speed so we're catching up to it. And we need to meet it before its semi-major axis bit, where there's the ascending or the descending node, so that it can do the inclination burn. Because currently it doesn't have enough fuel to even do an inclination burn. So we need to catch up with it, and we need to catch up with fast. This is why this thing has just so much fuel. It's because we need to, A, get it all to orbit. B, we need to be able to burn to, exit Kerbin, catch up with a craft that's on an interplanetary trajectory, and then we need to slow down to meet the craft. So you can see here I'm just burning at the target, which is completely wrong actually. I should have been burning to the left. I was very tired when doing this. I should have been burning a bit to the left so that the marker for prograde went over the top of the target icon. Anyway, so I'm just doing that, getting closer, getting closer, getting closer. Basically, this is brute force in action, just using as much power as I have, because I know that I can get ridiculously large sums to orbit with a lot of effort. So I rush built that, and we're catching up to our target now. And I tried to use maneuver node there, and it was pretty naff. So basically, I'm just burning at target. Now the maneuver node comes back, well, not maneuver node, but the crossing point, close approach point, and we're there. Right, so we're 15 kilometers from target. So I'm going to skip ahead now. It's pretty much a simple burn at target, reduce speed, burn at target, reduce speed. I'm just going to skip ahead to the docking point. Now, we're getting pretty naff frames here, because both of these craft are pretty big. And they're both pretty heavy, although nowhere near as big and heavy and as ridiculous in part count as our actual nuclear fusion Voyager craft. Now, this docking should be fairly easy. It's just as straightforward as docking port, docking port. And boing. There we go. And let's transfer all the fuel. So we're just going to fill everything up with as much fuel as possible. But what I do want to do is I want to get rid of that spare weight on the back. Because that spare weight on the back is going to be a problem. And you see we actually don't have anything left in those orange tanks. We are just using the side tanks for the nuclear rockets. It took us so much fuel just to catch up with this thing in time. So we filled it up, and I have a plan for getting rid of that back bit. So, this craft is not only able to catch up and deliver fuel, it's also a complicated disassembly machine. It's extremely high-tech in its manner. It's been specifically designed by Kerbals to be top of the line at taking apart rockets. So, this is it in action. Just burning a little bit, trying to make sure I get this right. And, yep, looks good. Aha! Wait. Yeah, okay, let's try that again. Come on, it was orange tank on orange tank. They should have both been destroyed. Let's try that again. It's not a great angle to hit it from. Just gonna make sure I don't hit the actual craft itself. A little bit faster. Here we go. And yeah, let's try and hit as much as possible. Good speed. What? It didn't get this. Whoa, wait, I've obliterated my craft. I can't even, fire it now because its center of mass is ruined. And it didn't... Okay, I know what I'm going to do. Ta-da! I totally didn't use, whack a Kerbal to destroy the thing on the back. I know, that's sort of semi-cheaty, but in my defense, the game bugged out when the thing was meant to decouple. I'm going to claim sabotage. And thus, that using Whack a Kerbal, which is, some sort of cannon, is perfectly legit. Anyway, this craft looks really beautiful, doesn't it? I really do like those refineries. They're an absolute pain to try and mount, but they look pretty cool. Pretty. Anyway, what are we doing? We are going back to Juna. And let's looking at this. Reprocessing craft is going to be entering Dres' sphere of influence in 150 days, and I think we can't go to Elu because we're going to run out of fuel by the time we get to Elu. We're going to be out of uranium tetrafluoride. So we'll go to Dres, despite the fact it's another 90 days. And yeah, if you look at that, we're almost down to half our uranium tetrafluoride, so we would never get to Elu and back. We'd probably get to Elu and slow down, but we'd just be stuck there. But there's no way that the reprocessing craft could get to Elu. It just doesn't have the delta V, so we're going to have to go to Dres and Elu after. So let's remove that maneuver node. Well, not maneuver node, our entry in the alarm list. 90 days time. Give it a 4-hour window. And, okay, we can't go fast enough because we're in orbit. So let's switch back to the reprocessing craft. time accelerate at the reprocessing craft, and then switch back to Juno again. Now, this episode is longer than usual. That's partly because the last episode was shorter than usual, and, I wanted to make it up to you. Also because all the stuff that didn't go in the last episode is ending up in this episode. Because, it just needs to be done. And also because we had the unexpected fact that we were sending a nuclear processing craft up. That mainly has meant that we're going to be an extra episode, rather than that being the second to last episode and this being the last one. This is sort of an extra episode where I'm having to do all this fancy stuff with the reprocessing craft. So let's set up our orbit to Dres, and that looks good to me. 2 nodes as per usual, pointing at the node, 745 meters per second burn. That looks good. Right, let's just spin around our orbit. And burn. So close all our docking ports, and... Oh, I mean open all our docking ports. Do I mean open all? Yeah, I mean open all our docking ports. It's very dark, it's very difficult to see, but yeah. Just so that when we get to the other end, we have the docking ports open so we don't have to switch craft. Right, so we need to go to the next node in the section, just tweaking that so we get a good encounter. Trying to get as close as possible. How far is that away? 50-something days, right. Okay, let's go to that. And burn! Quite a bit of an inclination change to get here, but I think it'll be fine. We've got plenty of fuel with this one. The issue is just the time, because the time is the uranium tetrafluoride. We're not using it every time we burn, we're using it constantly. So it's more of a time constraint on the mission. And it's going to take 100... Oh, almost 200... We're down to almost a quarter of our uranium tetrafluoride. Alright, well that's... Yeah, there we go. Let's just sort our burn to slow ourselves down at Dres and get into Dres sphere of influence. There we go. Now, this basically has just enough fuel to get into Dres' sphere of influence and not much else. So the reprocessing craft is going to end up there, and we're probably going to have to move the fusion craft rather than the reprocessing craft to meet it. And back to the fusion craft. And basically I've decided that we're probably going to be running... We'll probably be out of uranium tetrafluoride about a week before we actually get to Dres, which is going to be incredibly annoying. So we're going to have to shut down the reactors. And I've finally found out that we can actually shut them down, but we have to EVA and then manually shut them down. And because the area that you can do it around the reactor is so small, it's probably not small for a 2.5 meter part, but for a 3.75 meter part, you have to push up right against it. And I tried to do this earlier just in testing to see if you could actually turn reactors off. And I was completely stumped. I assumed you couldn't. But then I read in the wiki you could, and I gave it another try here. And it turns out that provided you squish your Kerbal up against the reactor, you can turn them off. So I've manually shut them down, and they're going to decay the heat over the heat they've just got left over, I think it's a course of 3 or 4 days. I think it's 3 days. So you can see there the heat is decaying, and once that's completely decayed, we'll stop using uranium tetrafluoride, but we also won't have any power. So we're going to have to do a manual startup again, which means EVAing and doing the manual startup or just before we get to Dres, just so they start. I think they start up instantly. I don't think there's a warm up period, so we should be okay. But I've set a node to an alarm. Sorry, I think 4 days before we actually get to the sphere of influence of Dres, just so that they're warmed up and happy. And we save a lot of uranium tetrafluoride by doing this. We're there. Right, let's close that and EVA. Now, we could just turn the reactors off every time we head onto interplanetary space. It would save a lot of uranium tetrafluoride. I mean, we could go all over the place if we did that. It would just be kind of annoying. So we might do that in future. So, there's also a refill button now they're shut down. I guess that's what we'll have to use to refill them. Obviously. Let's go forwards and squish. Let's try and... It's so hard to actually... you can see me just pushing Jeb up against it. Jeb is, of course, quite qualified at this. He took a short course in nuclear reactor engineering before going on the mission, just so that he knew what to pay attention to. So he's very aware that the process for shutting down a nuclear reactor and restarting is to push your face up against it and then just click like crazy. Let's just get him back in the capsule. And we're in sphere of influence slightly. I don't know, I'm playing maneuver node right now. Let's wait until we're actually in sphere of influence. There we go. And then I skipped ahead. You may have been like, well, why didn't you show us you're slowing down? Because, you know, you've seen it a million times for a start. And secondly, because this docking bit here, I had incredibly large problems with. Like, randomly things would explode and shatter and all kinds of nonsense when I was trying to dock these things together. And this is probably my 4th attempt at docking them, because the first 3 just, I either crashed or just random things exploded. I think maybe the refinery module things on the refinery craft have got like a really big collision mesh that's bigger than them, and somehow it was clipping or something, I don't know. Anyway, we finally get it docked, which is nice. Only just, there isn't much room left, but we turn these on to reprocess fuel, and it tells us it'll take about 20 days. I guess that's fine. It took so long to get here. I'm pretty sure 20 days isn't a lot in the grand scheme of things. So, time warp ahead. Ooh, that's a bit odd. Time warp's very slow. I mean, you're still watching this in 2 times speed, but even trying to time warp, it's very slow. When you time warp really fast with these, it goes to infinite time. Yeah, so if we go one up, is it above 1,000? Yeah, there we go, infinity hours remaining. So yeah, the maximum speed we can go is 1,000. Is it working? The time is going down, so let's skip ahead. And finally, you know, after I spent probably, I don't know, 20 minutes or something watching that slowly tick down, the reactors have... well, not the reactors, the uranium in the reactors, or the depleted uranium, or the actinides. The actinides have been completely purged and reprocessed. And let's shut down all these so we can refill them. Come on, come on, there we go. Whoop, 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 there we go. Now, you might have been like, well, why didn't you shut them off when you docked? It would have saved on the uranium. The reprocessing takes, I think, 10 megawatts. It's 5 megawatts per reprocessing module. So we needed a way of, you know, generating enough power to run them. And the only real proper power generator we've got that can actually do in the, you know, megawatts range is the reactors. And admittedly, they do in the gigawatts range. So I could have turned 2 of them off, but I'm lazy. Anyway, Jeb just somehow gets himself knocked out hitting the reprocessing module. And a quick change of ship somehow makes Jeb alive again, which is, you know, always nice. And just coasting up towards the capsule. Back into the capsule. And now I think we have to just wait for the heat to decay in the reactors before we can refill them, because, you know, you don't want to open a reactor that's still partially on. That would be bad for your health. So, yeah, let's just time accelerate again. This mission involves a lot of time accelerating. You probably noticed there's been a lot of clock wipes. You know, it happens with a lot of interplanetary travel and then trying to dock ships. These ships were horrible to dock, by the way, even when, you know, they didn't crash or explode. They were so slow because they're both pretty part-heavy ships. But, you know, the reprocessing one does look pretty. So let's just set our Dres to Elu node. And I think we're just going to wait in orbit and then go down to Dres when it's time to leave for Elu. So we just land on Dres and then straight back up again. It's probably the quickest way. So let's refill that. Refill. Okay, I assume it's refilled. It hasn't really changed. Like, it doesn't say you can't refill anymore or just remove the refill thing. I assume it's going to be refilled, so there we go. And away. Ooh, wait, what was that? You can turn lights on these ladders. I totally did not know that. These are awesome. I'm going to turn all the lights on. They look so... Ooh, they're flashing. Like green and red and white. They're very Christmassy ladders. I guess, you know, this can be the Christmassy thing for the channel. I'm probably going to do something like that. I know it's late, but, you know, whatever. Let's try and dock. Well, not dock, just, you know, get back inside. Ta-da! And, wait. How do we have, like, over 2 times... right, no extra uranium has gone into the other reactors, just the top reactor, and it's overflowed it. Huh. Well, I think I'm going to end up ending this episode here, and I'll try and fix this. Yeah, bug report. God damn it. Anyway, I've been EnterElysium. Stay shiny.